Hello, everybody. This is the Cincinnati Herald Podcast. I'm your host, John Alexander Reese, digital editor of the Cincinnati Herald. If you don't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the largest African American newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area. And today, I have my guests with me, co-host and media consultant, Andria Carter. How you doing today, Andrea?
Fine, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. I also have circulation director, Wade Lacey Sr. with me. How you doing, Wade?
How you doing, John? It's good to be here.
Good to have you. And we also have our Herald intern, Suhana Sinha. How you doing today, Suhana?
I'm doing fantastic, John. Let's have a great show today.
Definitely. And we also have our other Herald intern, Maeve Hamlet. How you doing today, Maeve?
I'm great, John. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So we'll head into the top news stories of the week. President Joe Biden will make his first presidential visit to Cincinnati on July 21st for a CNN town hall, the network reported Tuesday afternoon. The event, moderated by CNN anchor Don Lemon, will air on CNN at 8 o'clock p.m. that day. CNN expects it to focus on topics including COVID-19, which is making a minor resurgence in the United States due to vaccine hesitancy and the highly contagious Delta variant and the economy. Andrea, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden visiting Cincinnati for a town hall?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, Cincinnati is a great backdrop for a town hall. We don't get recognized as often as we would like to for town halls. I mean, it's very rare that we're used, but we have been used before by sitting presidents. In fact, I remember I attended one with, I'm dating myself, George Bush down at Union Terminal, which I thought was very well received, even though there were protesters outside. I think it's fantastic. It's a great showing for the Cincinnati.
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I too agree. I think it's real good for the city. It makes us look very good. It also, I think the Democratic Party is looking to the future. They know how important Ohio is, and they would really like to win it the next presidential election. And I think they are making stops here. Seems like it will be pretty frequent now. And they're trying to, I think, get a foothold for the next election to pull some more votes from Ohio.
Suhana, your thoughts?
I think, John, for conversations about many small Midwestern towns around the United States of America, often it's the West Coast or the East Coast or the Texas or maybe the North that gets recognized. But Midwest, which is such a huge area, is not at its glory, I would say, for a while now. And it is nice that President Biden has a very holistic approach to come and see what's up with these towns and understands that the so many small towns in America cumulatively make what America what it is. And it's been very long time since so many leaders have focused on the corners of the country, and finally it's time that after such a long period, a president is looking into the center of this country. I think there's so many developments are meant to be done, like just how Kamala Harris visited about improving the infrastructure for Cincinnati, and I'm sure many places as such. President Biden's recent admission to this list makes this whole situation more exciting and makes us like hopeful that there's more things coming ahead of us.
Maeve, your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, John. I think it's exciting anytime a sitting president comes to Cincinnati. I really hope they can squeeze a conversation in about the bridge or something along those lines, because we all know that's a big issue. But yeah, it's exciting, and I hope there's not too bad of traffic jams because of it.
Okay, moving on to our next story. Senate Democrats say they've reached a budget agreement envisioning spending an enormous $3.5 trillion over the coming decade. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the Democrats' deal after a meeting with the Budget Committee on Tuesday. The deal would pave the way for their drive to pour federal resources into climate change, healthcare, and family service programs sought by President Joe Biden. Included in the deal is money to expand Medicare coverage for vision, hearing, and dental benefits. Andrea, your thoughts on this story?
I think it's going to be a battle to get this through. but I think the Democrats are determined to make the country stronger by making the infrastructure stronger. We have so many roads and bridges that need rehabbing. More and more accidents are going to happen on these roadways if we don't fix them up, especially those that serve or over bodies of water or over amounts of land. I think what they're trying to do also is shore up many different aspects of what makes the country great, making the working person more stronger, things like that. And I hope they push it through. I know there was a meeting today with the president, with the Senate Dems, and how they are agreeing to push this through, and a few other bills on his broad agenda. So I hope it happens.
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I think it'll go through over a lot of debating and fighting a little bit and everything. But in the long run, everybody's going to get paid. There'll be money in it for everybody, different programs and everything that everyone support. So they'll do a little infighting and all that. But in the end, it'll go through in some form or fashion. Maybe not the whole 3.7 trillion, but it's in everybody's best interest for doing. Like Ms. Carter said, with the infrastructure, that's so very important. That's a biggie right now all over the country. We have so many bridges and railroad systems and everything that are in decay. And it's important that somebody step forward and say, yeah, we need to go ahead and take care of this right now. I think all this stuff will go through. Again, it might not be the full 3.7 trillion, but like I said, everybody's got their own interest in this money. And even though they'll fight a little bit about it and everything.
Suhana, your thoughts on this story?
John, 3.5 trillion is a very huge amount, and I'm happy that the Biden committee was like able to get through with it, like initially how they planned on getting this budget, and now they're finally getting it. I just hope like the investment is not mismanaged, because oftentimes in this whole struggle of getting this whole finance together, often it's the execution that fails. And in California, railroad construction, we had seen that when after a humongous investment, the railroads were still not at the best shape for use around the country. I just hope like this time's investments is quite a good amount. A lot of things can be done and improved with it, and I hope the current government has a plan how to deal with it. And if they have got Senate's approval, then I'm sure there must be some metal to it, and it will be great if we can see development sooner than like never seeing it happen again.
Maeve, your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of like Suhana said, I hope the execution goes smoothly. It's kind of we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can't predict the future. So, but looking at the plan, it looks like it's going towards things that need fixed and institutions that need help. I saw something, I think, about dental benefits and Medicare expansion, which is always good. But yeah, I think this is good. And I'm excited to see how quickly you can notice differences in our environment.
Moving on to our next story. Protesters took to the streets in Cuba on Sunday to protest shortages of medicine and the high cost of food amid the coronavirus pandemic. The demonstration was one of the largest anti-government rallies that the country has ever seen, at least in recent years. As of Wednesday, over 100 people have been arrested and one protester has died. Andria, your thoughts on the Cuban protests of 2021?
I was wondering if something was going to happen. The Castro family had such a stronghold on Cuba for such a long time, and now that the brothers stepped down and things are changing politically, I think it was a little weak for the new president to blame the United States for the problems that are going on in Cuba. We have nothing to do with Cuba. I just think that it's a very weak avoidance that the leadership is doing, because they've had their way for so long, and the people are kind of like, we're a little tired, and we want decent food and money to live. So I think they're going to get their comeuppance. We'll just see what happens.
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
I guess this last 16 months has been it just seems like everyone has been a little fed up and protesting different things around the world. It seems that fed up is a good word. Everybody's just fed up with different government policies and everything. They want to take things into their own hand and to get things moving for the people. I just want to see how this goes. You think of Cuba, but you think it's small and everything, it blow over. But this could start a different crisis that we don't want to get into. So I'll keep my eyes open.
Suhana, your thoughts on this story?
John, United States every year provides asylum to millions of immigrants who try to get a second chance in United States of America after migrating from their country. The recent crisis that is arising in Haiti and Cuba, we see like there's going to be, I believe there is going to be a greater movement now because it's for more than the regular crisis, it's also added up with pandemic. I will not be harsh on America by saying that why aren't they not the one making sure that the situation is 100% fine there. But as an ally, I hope America provides its assistance, if it's intellectual assistance or resourceful assistance, because we have slowly started to gain our foot back into a normal life and economy. And though we should look out for ourselves, if the rest of the world is burning around us, there is very little point in standing alone. It's not only out of humanitarian concerns, but because all the countries in a B network, in a hive network, provide each other with resources and infrastructure, which leads to further trades and the economy of a country, which is very essential at this point to recover. So not putting any kind of support or not keeping an eye on the rising turmoil in Cuba or Haiti is a long chain which can further create trouble for us as a country. So I'm sure the intelligence is doing as best as they can. And I just hope there's some form of stability achieved through vaccines and medicines. And I don't think it's a very hopeless situation. I think if right people provide right assistance, like vaccine production has patent for vaccine shared among the manufacturers, or the food not wasted and transported properly, if if people do their position right, I think the crisis can be controlled to a great extent. But I'm just sitting here and talking, not the one sitting and deciding. So let's see what the esteemed government of several countries come to conclusion.
Maeve, your thoughts on this news story?
Cuba's gone through so many hardships over the past 50 years. I can't even imagine how bad the pandemic must have been there. I mean, I don't think it's too crazy of a take, but I think everybody deserves, basic rights like food, shelter, and water. So I think if their government's sitting back and majority of their people don't have those rights and what they need to survive, I think that's a big issue. Cuba is really, really close to America. I think it's like less than 100 miles off the coast of Florida. And, that's our neighbors. And I was always taught growing up to look out for your neighbors. So I think America should definitely step in and see what they can do to help them.
And moving on to our next story. Zalia-Avant Garde is the first African-American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee. The 8th grader from Louisiana spelled the word Mariah correctly to win. According to the Associated Press, Avant Garde 14 is a basketball prodigy who holds 3 Guinness World Records for dribbling multiple balls simultaneously. In addition, Louisiana State University President William F. Tate IV tweeted Saturday that Avant Garde academic performance reflected the scholarship's first and modeled intellectual excellence. He offered her a full scholarship to LSU. Andria, your thoughts on this very wonderful story?
I think it's fantastic. It's about time. But I mean, I have watched the spelling bee for years, and it hurts my brain with the words that these kids have to spell. I don't even know them. And the fact that they have worked this hard to spell is amazing. And the thing that this young lady had, it was like going, it was down to the wire. She would spell one, the other kid would spell one. And I think it's just wonderful to see this young lady herald for her accomplishment of spelling a word that I still don't know and don't even think how to use it in a sentence, but I'll be looking it up. But I mean, I think it's wonderful and I think it's fantastic. And it goes to show that you never know who's going to be the best of the best, especially when it comes to spelling.
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
A great story, very interesting. Very happy for her. In the bigger picture, it shows that academics and sports can merge together. A lot of times you'll see that they try to paint the picture if you're into sports or athletics that you're not into academics. And that's not totally true. And so for someone like this to be a basketball prodigy, still do well in this and showcase her academic abilities, very telling. Hopefully it'll bring more people of color to recognize that they can do more than one thing great at the same time. I put this in the category of things like chess and things like that, and hopefully more Black folks will decide to venture into some of those areas that is not necessarily thought of when you think of a Black or person of color being involved in on a high level. And so kudos to her. I hope the youth of America is looking and watching and saying, hey, she can do it. I can do it too. And I can do more things than just one.
Suhana, your thoughts on this wonderful story?
John, what makes me excited is that I'm someone from Indian origin. So the top three participants, two of them were Indian origin, girls from Indian origin, I believe. So I can see like there were two people brown and one person Black, and such as I know we have come quite far in terms of racial equality. Like though we have a lot to achieve, we have still come quite far. And every time I see the simplest things, it makes me really happy. I think the victor must celebrate their victory with some fireworks, and it's a great time to be a winner. I mean, this whole year there's pandemic, and I'm sure it must have added some amount of stress to even those children with schools going completely online. I mean, I don't think any generation after this should be seeing this. So in middle of all this, they were true to their passion, and those spelling bee competitions are really competitive, really big deal. I feel it's almost like elite league of competitions, but the person got won there. So it's exciting and it's very happy, and it's a happy news. I just send my heartiest congratulations, and I hope we see more people as winners, and they are people of color in the end. I hope so.
Maeve, your thoughts on this story?
You know, I'm really proud of her to be so young. I think you said she was 14. To be so young and to win such a large national competition is absolutely amazing. And like Suhana said, those competitions are extremely competitive, and there's a whole they have a large following. So I think it's amazing what she's done, and I'm really proud of her, and she deserves everything that she's gotten, especially in the digital age too. You know, we have autocorrect right at our fingertips, so to know how to spell very complicated words at such a young age is a huge flex.
I just have to say, the one thing that I did not do this year is I like watching Shonda Rhimes' Twitter feed during the spelling bee, because she's a huge spelling bee fan, and I would wanted to know what her reaction was to all of this. And I'm kicking myself because I didn't watch it this year to see what her reaction was.
Honestly, I feel a little jealous, considering I'm a college student who can't get by any of her assignments without checking it on Grammarly for some basic D's and E's and ands. a kid who is 14, I don't know how many years younger than me, is just spelling the most complicated words at her fingertips on a competitive level. Makes me want to do a little better.
And now, our final story of the day. The United States men's basketball team had their best game on Tuesday evening with a 108-80 victory over Argentina in Las Vegas. This comes after back-to-back exhibition losses against Nigeria and Australia. But despite the losses, the men's team's chances for success remain high, as the United States has still won 15 out of the 19 Olympic gold medals awarded in men's basketball. Wade, your thoughts on this story?
It's amusing at one point, and it's concerning in another. When you think of the men's U.S. basketball team, you just think of superiority. The NBA players are supposed to be the best in the world. Some of these teams from the other nations, they have NBA players on their team, but usually it's two, at most maybe three. But the U.S. team, not only does it have a team full of NBA players, they are the top supposedly players of the NBA. And so I know a lot of people will say, well, yeah, they lost, but it was just exhibition games. It don't mean anything. And it probably won't in the end. They probably will go ahead and win the gold medal. However, when you put a little seed of confidence in someone, no matter what the field, and in this case, there's a lot of those other teams were looking at that, and they are thinking now that maybe, just maybe, I have a chance. And that makes it a little tougher. We're not back where we were back in '92 with the Dream Team. The other countries have improved their players and all that and everything. But again, you don't want to give anyone confidence. And that Dream Team of 1992, they made sure that everybody knew going in that they were the dominant team and they were going to kick your butt no matter what. And if you would bring that team there from 1992 to today, they would not have lost those exhibition games to Nigeria and Argentina. They would not have let that happen because they knew that they needed that level of confidence and superiority going in before even the first official games.
Andrea, your thoughts on this story?
Well, I would just say it's kind of like the pregame warm-up, kind of like, the Bengals. When the preseason, you hope for the best, they perform the worst, but in the end, something good will happen. I'm going to take the same philosophy with the Olympic team, the Olympic basketball team. They came together, first exhibition game, second exhibition game, they won today, but still you wouldn't think that Nigeria would beat the US. US is number 1, Nigeria was number 27 according to Wade. But I'm just going to take a wait and see attitude and keep my fingers crossed that we'll see gold.
Well, that's the top news stories of the week. I want to thank everyone for coming on. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Suhana. And thank you, Maeve, for giving your thoughts on this week's topics. And if you like the topics we talked about today, make sure to check out the stories on our website at www.thecincinnatiherald.com. You can also check out our print edition, which is sold at your local Kroger, UDF, Walgreens, Joseph F. Booksellers, and select service stations. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. We're on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and TuneIn Radio. Just search for the Cincinnati Herald Podcast. Follow us at the Cincinnati Herald on Facebook. Follow us at Cincy Herald on Twitter and Instagram. And follow us on YouTube. Just search for the Herald TV. I'm John Alexander Reese, digital editor of the Cincinnati Herald, and have a good day.